Welcome to The Explainer. If you've ever felt totally overwhelmed by the sheer number of business analytics tools out there, trust me, you are not alone. Today, we're going to cut through all that noise. We'll show you how to find the right tool for the job, and we'll start with a great story about how one company saved $1 million just by doing that.
So, to really get a grip on the power of these tools, let's just start with a story. We're talking about Seagate, the data storage giant, and a single, kind of hidden problem they had in their manufacturing that was costing them an absolute fortune.
That's right, over $1 million in savings on a single project. And this wasn't about, cutting corners or anything like that. It was about fundamentally changing how they looked at their manufacturing data to spot problems way before they got expensive.
So what was the actual problem? Well, their process for making recording heads is insanely complex. We're talking over 1,500 different steps. But the real kicker was that it took them, on average, 6 months from when a part was made to when it was actually tested. Imagine that. 6 months of potentially bad material already in the pipeline before they could even know something was wrong.
So how on earth did they fix it? They brought in a tool called KNIME, and this quote from one of their engineers, it just perfectly captures the magic of it. Instead of writing lines and lines of complicated code for every new idea, they could just piece together solutions. Super fast, super intuitive, just like building with Lego blocks.
And the results, they were just staggering. They took that 6-month feedback loop and they crushed it down to just 4 weeks. That one change saved them over $1 million. But, and this is maybe even more important, they trained and empowered over 150 of their own employees to work with this data all by themselves. And that transformation is the real key to this story.
And that right there, that gets to the absolute heart of this whole thing. It's not just about the software. It's about a huge shift in who gets to work with data. It's about the rise of what we now call the citizen data scientist.
See, Seagate's huge win wasn't just about buying a new tool. Nope, it was about creating these citizen data scientists. They actually invested in a program to upskill their existing employees, which let people whose main job isn't data science pull powerful insights from data, all on their own.
And this quote just nails it, right? Digital transformation isn't really about technology. It's about empowering your people. When you make these powerful tools easy to use, you unlock all this creativity and problem solving from every corner of the company.
Okay, so Seagate had this huge success with one specific tool, KNIME. But that tool is just one tree in a massive, sprawling jungle of options. It can feel really intimidating, so let's try to draw a map. We can cut through all that complexity by looking at these tools across 4 key questions. First, is it free or do you have to pay for it? Is the code open for anyone to see and mess with, or is it a secret proprietary thing? Do you run it on your own laptop or on a server in the cloud? And finally, do you use it by dragging and dropping visuals or by writing actual code?
And this is where it gets really interesting, when you start plotting some of the big names on this map. You've got something like Python, which is totally free, open source, and all about code. Then you have KNIME, the tool Seagate used, which is also free and open, but it's visual. Then on the other side, you've got paid, closed-source tools like Tableau, super visual, and the industry giant SAS, which kind of gives you a mix of both.
So given all that variety, who are the real leaders in this game? Well, it turns out the answer totally depends on who you ask.
If you ask one of the big industry analyst firms, like Gartner, you get their world-famous Magic Quadrant. And up there in the top right Leaders section, you see the big established commercial players like SAS and IBM.
And if you look at another major analyst, Forrester, you see a pretty similar picture. Again, names like SAS and IBM are right up there as leaders. And these reports are a huge deal in the corporate world because they're looking at things like enterprise support, sales strategy, and the company's long-term vision.
But what happens when you stop asking the analysts and you start asking the data scientists, the analysts, the people who are actually using these tools day in and day out? Well, a poll from the popular analytics site KNIME shows a completely different story.
The results are, well, they're pretty striking. While the industry analysts are highlighting the big commercial platforms, the tools that practitioners, the people in the trenches, love and use the most are free, open-source programming languages like Python and R. This shows this huge gap between what big companies often buy and what the individual data scientists actually want to use, mostly because these open-source tools offer way more flexibility and a massive community for support.
So what does this all mean for you?
What does this split between the analyst leaders and the practitioner favorites mean when you're trying to build your own analytic skills or even a whole team?
Okay, the single most important thing to take away from this entire landscape is this. You should not be looking for one perfect tool that does everything. It just doesn't exist. The pros don't have a magic wand. They have a toolbox. They might use Python for some really heavy-duty data cleaning, then switch over to Tableau to build some beautiful interactive dashboards, and then maybe use a visual tool like KNIME to quickly test out a new idea. It's all about picking the right tool for the specific job you have to do.
And that really brings us to our final thought. The story of analytics today, from Seagate empowering its engineers to the rise of these free, incredibly powerful tools, is all about accessibility. The power to find amazing insights from data isn't locked away with a small group of experts anymore. So the question is, now that this power is available to pretty much everyone, what's the first problem you would solve?